So getting up and going again with the Defender. Oh, sounds so good, and it's quick. It is really quick. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be reviewing a Defender with the V8. I'm so excited to finally be able to review one of these. Now this is a Carpathian edition. You guys are absolutely going to love this package. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but anyways, a huge shout out and thank you to the Land Rover here in Lehi, Utah for giving me some time with this Defender. Now something that is so awesome about the Land Rover here in Lehi is they do not charge any markup on their vehicles. So if you want to buy a new Land Rover or Jaguar with no crazy markups, just like every other Land Rover / Jaguar dealership is charging in today's market, then definitely check them out. They're the dealership to go to. I'll include a link to their inventory in the description down below. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below as well. Let's get into the video. So under the hood, we have a supercharged 5-liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 14 around town and then 19 on the highway, with power outputs being 518 horsepower and then 461 pound-feet of torque. And let me say it again, 5-liter V8. What more could you ask for? Now let's go over the front end of this V8 Defender. So first off, you guys can see we've got the Defender logo front and center. And then notice how the hood here is actually gloss black. And then we have the normal accenting there on either side of the hood. And then you can see the Carpathian gray here on this. It's a matte paint color and it looks absolutely fantastic. It's literally so shiny that the camera filter is just like, nope, I can't focus on it. But there's a ton of metallic flake in the paint and it just looks amazing in person. You can see here with the daytime running lights, and then notice the headlights, they are super bright. Even daytime, they are blinding. We've got the fog lights down below, parking sensors here on the front end, and then we have our little Land Rover logo. And then notice more of that gloss black there, and there's actually a little camera hiding in the grille right here. And then you can see we actually have protection here on the front end, so we do get skid plates with this, and we have our little recovery hook there in the center, which kind of looks pretty interesting. Now, just like other Defenders with air suspension, you have up to like 11.5 inches of ground clearance when you're in the highest setting. And, well, there's the front end. Now, coming on the side here, we've got 22-inch wheels, and wrapped around that we have 275mm tires in the front and over in the rear as well. And I absolutely love the design here on the wheels. Notice we've got the Defender logo. Now you have the blue brake caliper here in the front, Brembo brakes up front. And because of the size of the brakes, the smallest wheel that you could fit on this would be a 19-inch wheel. The smallest wheel that Land Rover lets you put on this from the factory is a 20-inch wheel. 22s are actually standard with this package, but you can go for a 20-inch wheel, and it actually comes with an all-terrain tire. It's like their off-road wheel for this particular package. Like I said, we do have air suspension here with this one as well. And you can see here with the fender flares how those are painted to match. And then notice the Defender logo and venting here. We have our V8 badge there on the side. The mirrors are gloss black. Notice here with the pillars, those are body painted, but then the roof is black. So there's a lot of contrast with this vehicle. And then you can see the door handles too. Add to the contrast. Black trim here at the bottom. And then here's your full side view of the Defender. And notice that it's in like a lower ride height setting from a suspension standpoint. And then we actually have pretty big rotors here in the back as well. But notice that the calipers aren't painted blue. So if someone has blue calipers front and rear, they're probably opposed when they don't actually have a V8 Defender. They just painted their calipers blue so that people would think they would. So here's our key fob. We have our unlock function or lock function. This is to basically just unlock the hatch area, and then the lights, got the Land Rover logo there on the back. But we will make sure everything's unlocked, and we'll pop this open. So this opens just like the Mercedes G-Wagon actually. So the window is attached to the whole panel, unlike the Wrangler and the Bronco. Notice we have a Defender logo right there, and you can actually see the recovery hooks here on the back. Now the cool thing about the Defender is you've got quite a bit of storage space from a height perspective, and this being the 4-door, you have quite a bit of storage space here behind the second row. And then notice here for the air suspension to raise and lower the rear end, so it's easier to load things up. And this is actually part of an air compressor system, which is pretty cool if you ask me. And then aside from that, overall storage space is great. And then if we actually lift this up, if I can, apparently I got to use a little bit of muscle. You can see underneath that whole setup, and notice this floor, like this is definitely durable. Like it's ready to, you know, take some heavy duty stuff. And then there is an outlet here on that side as well. And then look at the windows here in the back, and then also at the top as well. Really cool feeling, but when you're done, you just gotta close it. Now, finishing things up with the rest of the rear. First off, we're gonna talk about the taillights. I love the taillights on the new Defender. You can see this is what it looked like when they're blinking on and off. But yeah, they're just super distinctive, and there's just so many different lights here on the back end. Parking sensors, got the receiver hitch. Now, just like the new Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392, we have really aggressive exhaust tips that just poke out the bottom, and this is how you can tell this from a regular Defender, because, well, the regular Defender doesn't have crazy aggressive exhaust tips like this, and so really cool. Obviously, that is going to kind of mess with departure angle slightly, but let's be honest, is anyone going to take this off-road? And then notice we've got our giant Defender spare tire carrier there on the back end. Now here is the rear door panel. I love the material use here on the door panel, and just like other Defender models, it has that kind of like utilitarian design with all of the bolts, and everything just like looks really sturdy and feels really sturdy too, frankly, but it definitely has that military theme, which I love. Same thing here with the seats. Now there's a bunch of different textures here on the seats. You can see one texture, and then we have another texture right here, and then we have a third texture here on the center. And yeah, pretty interesting. Got the rubber floor mats. We do have a grab handle, which will help out. Notice legroom. And then headroom as well. And then you can see here with little... And then you got the charging port right there. And then a storage space. We do have climate controls here for the rear passengers, charging ports as well. We've got vents for the rear passengers on top of that. And then you can see cup holder armrest. And again, with the, you know, skylights right there and then the panoramic sunroof, it feels very open here in the back. Let's head to the front. Here's the front door panel with the V8 Defender. You can see material use is the same as what you have in the rear, and it has that same cool design overall. We've got our window controls here with the mirror adjustments. This does have memory seats. I also have blind spot monitoring, if you're wondering. And then we've got more speakers for the Meridian sound system. We have our V8 plaque, so every time you open up the door, you're reminded that you have a cool engine under the hood. And then same thing with the seats with all of the different materials here throughout. You do have your power adjustments there on the side of the seat. And look at the pedals, really high quality. Here's your parking brake, and then again with the material use, just like other Defenders. And even this material here at the top of the dash actually feels really nice, and it looks cool too. Let's pop in. Here's the steering wheel with the V8 Defender. We have an Alcantara wrapped steering wheel, which definitely feels really cool. Look at the paddle shifters here on the back, and then notice that the airbag cover has the leather trim wrapped around it. And then we have practical car stuff like cruise control. We got controls for the center stack voiced, command controls. We have our turn signal, light stock, windshield wiper stock. And yeah, I love, this is my favorite Defender steering wheel now. So here's the digital gauge cluster with the Defender V8. You guys can see it looks fantastic. Now, this has 4,700 miles on it, and you guys can see what the average fuel economy is so far, which I know that that looks like it's not all that great, but again, you gotta remember, we got a supercharged V8 under the hood, and so all things considered, that's actually not bad at all. Now, if I press that circle button, then I can actually go through these different menus. Just shows you different bits of info here on the Defender. There's quite a bit that you can go through, so just play with it for a while, and then you'll find the exact information that you're gonna need on it. But yeah, overall, love the gauge cluster. So here's our infotainment system. First off, if we pop it into reverse, you can see you've got a backup camera, which trajectory lines do turn with the steering wheel. Notice how we have the different camera views, and we can go to our off-road mode, and then you can also go to your towing mode as well with the camera view, which is pretty cool that you can actually customize that. Now, if I pop it back into park, notice we have this shortcut bar here on this side of the infotainment system, and you can also see that response time is absolutely amazing. We have our slope assist. There's a ton of off-road stuff with this. We have a center locker. We have a rear locker as well. With this, we have our Wade sensing as well, which you guys can see is turned off. Notice it even shows us our elevation. But there's basically just a bunch of cool like little off-road gadgets that come with this, including low traction launch as well. And so yeah, overall, really responsive infotainment system, and it's cool all of the little off-road things you get. And also, if you guys are running from the camera perspective, it has this like 360 view if you want as well, which helps out. And then you got the front cameras on top of that. And then I guess something else is that the view here will actually show you underneath the vehicle as well, which would, again, help out with off-roading. Now we have more controls down below the infotainment system. So we have the shifter for the 8-speed automatic transmission. And again, you got that manual shift function if you want to use that. And sorry about the lighting right here. But where you can't really see, well, now you can, hill descent control, auto stop start. And we have some more stuff for the climate system. And then we have these controls, which are multi-purpose. So for example, we push in for the seats. And then you can see there for the climate controls. And then you push this button for the fan speed, and then you push this button for the different drive modes. There's a bunch of different drive modes. So notice that we have like a comfort, we have an eco, we have a dynamic, and on the other side, we've got a bunch of off-road modes. So grass, gravel, snow, mud ruts, sand, oops, skipped one, rock crawl, wade, and then you've got configurable as well. And those drive modes will change, obviously, transmission, engine response, but also with the air suspension, depending on what you're at. So like wade, for example, will raise the air suspension up to the highest height so that you can, well, wade through the most amount of water possible. And then when you're done with that, you just can press that button again to turn it off. And then this is for the air suspension to raise and lower it. And then we have our low range as well. So quite a bit happening in this area. Now I've got a bunch of charging ports here in this area, and then we have kind of like a grab handle-ish area with some storage space underneath, which adds to the practicality. And then we've got a couple cup holders here at the center console setup. This also does double as a refrigerator, wireless phone charger, and it's got nice materials here on top of it. And then we have another grab handle here on the dash. And then pretty normal glove box. We're not going to pop into that, but there is storage space here above the glove box. It's kind of hard to see because the camera. Another Defender logo. And then popping here up to the top, we have, again, our full panoramic sunroof. We got our sunglass holder, controls for the sunroof, and then we do have our camera mirror set up, which is a nice bit of safety tech. So here's the original window sticker for this Defender. So you guys can see the standard equipment right here, everything that it comes with. Which pretty much everything is standard. So you can see the base price here, $114,400. Now there are a couple options added to this particular one, including the integrated air compressor. And then notice the total MSRP there, $118,900. Let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility of the hood. You guys can now see the heads-up display through both the mirrors, which do have blind spot monitoring, and throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So, setting off in the V8 Defender, and I'm actually at the highest ride height setting, I believe. I'm in the off-road mode. I just clicked the air suspension button as many times as I possibly could manage, and then it said off-road mode, and we are now in off-road mode. And I can tell you, this is one of the first vehicles that actually drives smooth when you're at the top of the air suspension. Most vehicles, when you're at the top of the air suspension, they just are so rough. Now, something that Land Rover's done to make it happen this way is it has like two different settings. So you have the part of it that actually raises the Defender, and then you have the other part which the Defender can kind of like compress into. They're both air, right? And so because they have those, they have the height setting one, and then they have the, you know, compression point. Basically, you can drive this in the higher setting and it still gives you a pretty solid ride quality. Now it's automatically lowering for me because we're going too fast to be in the off-road setting. But just driving around here with the V8 Defender, I mean, literally, you don't, I mean, this might sound bad, but you don't notice a difference compared to other Defenders. Like if you went into a P400 and then got into this, you're gonna, other than the steering wheel, right, looking a little bit different and feeling a little bit different, you're gonna be like, oh, this is, you know, just like my Defender, right? It's, the engine's actually really quiet, still really smooth ride quality, really refined overall. And so it's just a really positive experience. And I'm actually going to pop it into the dynamic program. And I don't think the regular Defender has dynamic. Okay, that's where you can tell that it's got a V8. Wow. Oh goodness, that sounds good. When I was revving it, you could actually hear the supercharger pretty well, but I had the door open, but once the door's closed, the sound deadening is so solid on the new Defender that like you don't hear a lot, funny enough. But yeah, continuing along, this is so comfortable. Again, even dynamic. So if I pop it from dynamic back over to, let's just say, comfort, and just like other boxy vehicles, there is a little bit more windshield wind noise, but you know, compared to something like a Wrangler or a Bronco, this is so much quieter. Like you could drive this on the highway for sure, and you're not gonna complain about it, I can tell you that. So getting up and going again with the Defender. Sounds so good, and it's quick. It is really quick. It's fun. This is a fun vehicle, and I actually do a couple manual shifts here. Listen to that. It's smooth. It is smooth too. That's another thing. Like the 8-speed automatic in this is very smooth, and the powertrain delivery is very smooth as well. And so yeah, let's kind of get into summing things up here with the V8 Defender, right? Is this worth it or not? And also, is this a great alternative to the G63? Because you literally could buy 2 of these for the current market price on a G63. Crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. So first off, I love the exterior styling on this. And you know what, if I were to like spec one of these out for myself, I would probably go for the 20-inch wheels, but that's just because like I'm an off-road enthusiast and I want to have a little bit more sidewall. And we're gonna race this person. We win. V8 power. Anyways, yeah, that's probably how I would spec it out, is 20-inch wheels, and have the more aggressive all-terrain tires, and those would be a little bit better in the snow too here in Utah. And then, you know, from an interior perspective, this is the normal Defender interior. It's, you know, the seats are a little bit different, the steering wheel is a little bit different, but you know, if you like the Defender interior, you're gonna like this. I think it's great. It comes with a ton of cool features, and it does have a lot of off-road tech, frankly. And I've watched a ton of off-road videos made by TFL with the Defender, and it's crazy the stuff that this vehicle can handle, being, you know, unibody and having independent suspension in the front and in the rear. But you know, making the comparison to the G63, now I will say that the cool thing about the Land Rover here in Lehigh is they get a bunch of cool cars traded in. They actually have a G63 that they got traded in, and I will be doing a like comparison with this against the G63 in the very near future, like an actual like you know, side-by-side comparison video. But what I can tell you in this review is this gives you like 90% of the G63 experience at literally half the cost. And the thing that's crazy to me is you can't even buy a G550 for the cost of this. So a G550 starts at like almost $140,000 now, I think. It's like 130 something, almost 140,000. G63 is like 170,000. This is less than 120,000 fully loaded. Those, once you load them up with options and everything, right? A G550, you're like 160,000, and then a G63, you're like over 200,000, and that's before dealer markups. After dealer markups with both of those, you're like 230,000 for a G550, and then you're like almost 300,000 for a G63 brand new. So actually you could buy like almost 3 of these for a G63. But you have the V8 power. This is more powerful than a G550, right? G550 only has like 416 horsepower. This has over 500. So this is kind of like in between from a power perspective between the 550 and the 63. It has that really cool like military off-road appearance on the outside. It's got a really nice interior that again has that like rugged feel to it. You have a high seating position, and you can, because there's so much room above you, you can actually, like, look at this. I can raise up the seat a bunch so that like you have, like, if you want to feel like you have more like of a commanding position. And frankly, it's a better road car because it's unibody and because it has independent front suspension and rear suspension as well. It's smoother than the G-Wagon on-road, frankly. And so there's actually some benefits to this over the G-Wagon. And again, it's so much less money. So I'll let you guys decide. But all I'm going to say is I probably would rather buy 3 of these versus 1 G-Wagon. I mean, that's just crazy, the price difference, and how much stuff this has. Like, it's not like the G-Wagon has like $200,000 more equipment in it, but let me know what you guys think. Now let's get some things up for our video on this V8 Defender. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Land Rover of Lehi, Utah for giving me some time with this Defender. Check out the inventory in the description down below. Like I said, no markups. Definitely the dealership to go to, and I'll see you guys.